Jay, it's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with top 10 moments in Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost rivalry. I like rivalries, and I'm loving it for it more and more. The more I react to it, the more I watch it, bro. The more I get invested, the more I enjoy it. And so let's look at an older school rivalry. Rivalries are the best thing in sports. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, give the video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. What we got?
Two of the biggest rivals in Formula One history, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost's relationship first began to sour.
Oh dang, they were teammates. It's always, the rivalry's always between the teammates. But I think they say because you're driving the same car, it's like you're in the same machinery. So between y'all two, at the end of the day, it really is on the driver who's fastest. Because there's no excuse about having a faster car, having a slower. It's like we got the same car. It's on us who's faster.
Formula One history, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost's relationship first began to sour at Imola in 1989. After qualifying first and second on the grid, the McLaren teammates agreed that whoever arrived into the first corner in the lead would not be contested for the race win. Senna led off the line, but the race was red flagged following Gerhard Berger's horrific accident at Tamburello, with Berger escaping the Inferno with a
Jesus, that is so freaking scary.
Cracked rib and second-degree burns. The race was restarted. Only this time, Prost made the better start, jumping Senna into turn 1. But the Frenchman was furious to see Senna repass him later that lap. The Brazilian felt that as the race had been restarted, he'd already beaten Prost into turn 1 on the original race start. And so the agreement was still in his favour, while Prost felt the second start meant the agreement had been reset. It was a moment that would come to define their rivalry and establish many years of tension between the two.
It is tough. And I feel like in those situations, I understand as a team, you never want your race car, you never want your racers fighting it out because they end up hitting each other and now they're both out of the race. It's the worst thing. But as a driver, bro, like, I wanna fight it out with them. Let's see who the best. Let's battle it out. Let's go mano a mano, toe to toe. Same car, fast. It looked like both of us got the fastest car. Let's go for it. Let's go at it. And may the best man win. That's how I feel about it. But I understand, like I said, from the team prospect, don't fight it out. Let's get a 1-2 finish. Let's get these points and let's get going.
Ayrton Senna's breakthrough Formula One race was the 1984 Monaco Grand Prix, in which the Brazilian came just short of winning for the uncompetitive Toleman team. In torrential rain, Senna moved up from 13th on the grid to 2nd behind Prost. As Senna chased down the McLaren, Prost, who was suffering from a brake imbalance, waved desperately for the race to be stopped. The stewards agreed it was too dangerous to continue and ended the race at the end of the 32nd lap, handing the Frenchman victory and leaving Senna to wait a little bit longer for his first race win. 1988 was Senna's first year with McLaren, where he first joined forces with the then two-time world champion Prost. With both drivers having won 3 races from the opening 6 rounds, they were already fighting hard for supremacy. At the French Grand Prix, the duo were involved in a thrilling battle for the win. Eventually, Prost, who'd been hunting down his rival, made his move at the high-speed Courbe de Seine to take over at the front and fly to victory in front of a delighted home crowd.
Now that's a battle. That's a battle. McLaren just must have had the fastest cars at that point. You know what I'm saying? They had the best of the best. Fastest cars, fastest drivers. McLaren was on top of the world back then, I see. But first 6 races, Ayrton wins 3, Prost wins 3, going into that 7th race. That's crazy.
After 9 rounds of the 1988 season, Prost and Senna were still trading race wins, and the championship looked set to go down to the wire between the master and the apprentice. Having secured another 1-2 for the team in Germany, the McLaren teammates were involved in an amusing post-race exchange.
What happens now, you two? Good fun. We will have good fun from now on.
Fight, maybe we fight outside the car.
No, I think it's gonna get more and more exciting, the championship.
Is it possible to be equal? The championship?
No. Can only be one winner.
There can only be one winner. There can only be one. Senna like, nah. There can only be one of us. I ain't sharing my championship with nobody.
Prost and Senna had been fighting over 4th place at the 1991 German Grand Prix, until Prost, now in a Ferrari, tried a move around the outside. Senna held the inside line, forcing Prost to straight line the chicane, before stalling his car while waiting for a marshal to remove a cone and retiring from the race.
If I find him again the same way, if he's correct the same way, I push him out.
I think everyone knows Prost by now. He is always complaining either by the car or the tires or the team or the mechanics or the fuel or the other drivers or the circuit. It's always somebody else's blame. It's never his fault.
Oh, they really didn't like each other. They really didn't like each other for real. Okay.
Having sat out the 1992 season, there was mounting speculation that Alain Prost would return to the sport with the dominant Williams team for 1993. Rumours to which Ayrton Senna responded furiously when it emerged Prost had a veto against Senna joining him as a teammate.
It's impossible to accept somebody to come to a team February in the year with a signed contract, veto myself and himself too, and eventually they change his side but stay with the veto on myself. And I think if Prost wants to be called the sole champion, 3 times world champion, come back in a sportive way, maybe win another championship, he should be sportive. The way he's doing, he's behaving like a coward.
Hey!
In 1988,
They really didn't hold back in these interviews, bro. They said what they feel, bro.
Senna knew that victory in Japan would secure him his first Drivers' Championship. But the race started badly for the Brazilian when he stalled from pole position, immediately dropping him back to 14th place.
Dang!
But the determined Senna would not give up, charging through the field and making up 6 places on the opening lap alone, and running a remarkable 4th by only lap 4. The incredible drive culminated with Senna catching and passing Prost to earn victory and an emotional first World Championship.
That's
great,
crazy.
of course.
To drive like that is insanity, bro. Insanity.
Very happy and it's a great feeling.
Alain Prost's final Formula One race came at the 1993 Australian Grand Prix in Adelaide and saw an amicable exchange between the 2 great rivals on the podium. Senna, having won the race, invited Prost up to the top step with him, congratulating the Williams driver on his incredible career. It was a symbolic moment of their repaired relationship and a fitting way for Prost, now a 4-time world champion, to bow out.
When we were on the podium in Adelaide, he changed completely the way he was with me. And from this day, I mean a few days later, he called me. He was the first one to call me. And then he kept going during the winter. So I can say, yes, in this way, he is a friend.
That's so dope, man.
Senna and Prost's rivalry became a global news story at the 1989 championship decider at Suzuka. Senna needed to win to keep his title hopes alive, and though Prost was leading the race, he was under intense pressure from his teammate. With time running out, Senna made his move into the final chicane. Prost turned in, and the 2 came together.
This is the opportunity that Senna's looking for, and he's going through. Out! Oh my goodness, this is fantastic! They beat. This is what we were fearing might happen during the race, and that means to say that Prost has won the World Championship.
Prost climbed out of his cockpit to retire, but Senna got the marshals to release his car and get him going again. His relentless pursuit of glory saw him pit for a new front wing, before catching and passing Alessandro Nannini. But although he took the checkered flag, his delight was cut short, as the stewards disqualified him after the race for rejoining the track illegally, and thus handing that season's championship to Prost. It remains one of the most controversial moments in Formula One history.
I refuse to walk away from the fight.
What that means, so I'm intrigued. I'm sure you guys know. Let me know in the comment section. What that means? He rejoined the track illegally, like because the people was out there like pushing his car and like pushing him in the right direction to get him started back up. That's what I assume, but he got back in the race, and it's I feel like he should have still been in it, but yeah, that sucks. It just sucks when you're in contention for the championship and you don't like lose based on I crossed the flag after you, but you get out of the race because of a crash or just something happens and an engine, something on your car goes wrong and you're out of the race because of that. Because then it's like, if I lose going past the flag, it's on me. Like it's on me. But if I lose because of the car, then it's like everything I've done to get to this point, it doesn't matter because the vehicle gave up on me.
My nature to go right to the end, and that's what I'm going to do.
To be very honest, I mean, I'm quite happy to leave because I think it becomes absolutely impossible to work with Ayrton.
1 year later at Suzuka, it was Prost, now at Ferrari, that needed to beat Senna to continue his championship hopes. Despite qualifying in first place, Senna was angry that his pole position grid slot was off the usual grippier racing line and on the dirty side of the track, and felt this gave an unfair advantage to his title rival Prost. His attempts to have it switched pre-race were unsuccessful and filled to the brim with tension and emotion. When the race began, it was Prost who got the better start, leading Senna to infamously send his McLaren into a narrowing gap as they entered turn 1.
Senna is trying to go through on the inside, and it's happened immediately. This is amazing. Senna goes off at the first corner. Well, that is amazing, but I fear absolutely predictable.
Their collision meant the 1990 championship was Senna's, but the incident left a bitter taste throughout the sport.
By being a racing driver, you are under risk all the time. And by being a racing driver means you are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. Because we are competing to win. And the main motivation to all of us is to compete for a victory.
It seemed like, he just did the same thing Prost did to him earlier. So it was like, remember that time you took me out when I was still trying to compete? Alright, same thing about to happen. But I like when you no longer go for a gap that you see is there, then you are no longer a racing driver, right? And as a driver, I feel like you do have to push it. You have to always go for it. You got to take risks. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't, but you got to be willing to take those. That's all we got. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon and drop it in the comment section. It's your boy D Neal. Out.